The 76ers had a scare both with the score and with health, but they pull off the win over the Celtics. And the Memphis Grizzlies feel like they should be really worried. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network out there on Wednesdays. I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, joined by Swipa today from Locked On Nuggets. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm living. Been a great night. You know, you got to love, Peacock, NBC, giving us the latest possible games we can have in Atlanta starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love it.
Look, y'all on the West Coast don't know how lucky you have it. It looks cold where we are, too. We don't even want that, right? West Coast has all the love right now. We had 6 games across the association. We're going to recap them all for you here. So if you didn't stay up as late as we did, we got you covered for everything from a kind of weird 76ers game to what is going on with Memphis, and then Jokic just being unstoppable in the fourth quarter. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So let's start with the first game here that I want to cover, and that is the Philadelphia 76ers coming back to beat the Boston Celtics 102-100. Let's go over to Locked On Sixers for their take.
76ers sure dropped a lot on us on Tuesday night. First and foremost, they get the win over the Boston Celtics, 102-100. Kelly Oubre comes up with the game winner, a putback on a Justin Edwards missed three. Really a rare occasion in this one for Justin Edwards, who really came alive in the game, including a barrage of threes that he dropped in, 3 to be exact, in 1 minute and 18 seconds in the fourth quarter. That helped the Sixers go from down 8 to up 1 with Justin Edwards getting hot. Also, Oubre and Andre Drummond in on the final possession to help get a stop against the Celtics to seal off that victory. Then Joel Embiid before the game, unfortunately, gave you a little bit of a scare. He had to be reevaluated due to knee soreness. Well, he was evaluated, no structural damage. He is day-to-day. And then finally, Paul George, apparently in the final stages, we hope now, of being able to come back and make his debut. He is going to be reevaluated later this week.
And let's go over to Locked On Celtics for their take.
They say it's a make-or-miss league, and the Celtics proved that right in another one-possession loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm John Corrales of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Second quarter was the worst shooting quarter we've seen in the NBA this year. The Celtics fell behind by 12 at one point, 10 at the half, and then they turned it around. A monster quarter from Jaylen Brown, from Derek White. They went up by 9. And then in the fourth quarter, it looked great. Anthony Simons was doing his thing. And all of a sudden, Justin Edwards gets hot. And the Celtics' late game execution is a problem once again. When you hold Tyrese Maxey to 4 points in the fourth quarter, you should be able to close it out. But once again, the Celtics give up a crucially horrible offensive rebound. You had Kelly Oubre with the putback. His only 2 points of the quarter, but they won the game. The Celtics need to make shots. They need to execute better when they have opportunities. It's not just going cold. It's they're getting good looks. They're creating good situations, and they're a step slow, a half second behind on passes. They're getting blocked. It's just they don't have the talent to see things and execute the way they need to right now. It's just not there. And when the shots aren't falling, Celtics ain't winning.
The 76ers are fun, man. I really like this team.
They have a bunch of guards. They have a extremely talented backcourt. And Tyrese Maxey is currently playing, like, no hyperbole, a top 10 player in the NBA.
He looks like first-team All-NBA, basically, at times, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if there weren't freaks of nature named SGA and Luca, he would be in, maybe in best guard in the world conversation, him and Cade Cunningham right now. But Tyrese is insane. VJ Escom is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait to see what he grows into for the rest of this year. And then you add in the fact that, they're still, eventually going to work in Jared McCain. They just have a really great nucleus that they are building. I love the roster they have. And one of the things too is their ability this year, unlike in past years, they'll be able to find ways that when Joel Embiid is not playing, to at least find a semblance of an offense, because that really was the story for a long time. They just couldn't find the unit. They couldn't find the players. They couldn't find the situations to be able to put their players in. That way, when Embiid wasn't there to really take up all of the space on the offense because the defense was collapsing on him constantly, you couldn't generate points. But now, especially because Tyrese Maxey has taken legitimately a second-team All-NBA leap, and then you added the fact that he has other players around him to really help him, man. I just think they're off to a great start, but this could be a special season for Philly.
It does, and it gives them so many options going forward too, I think. If you want to move on from the Joel Embiid era, you finally feel like you can, I think, and at least having, I'm not saying they need to do that, but having the options better than not, and not going through a long rebuild when you have some of these guys. I'm a little worried to see when they start getting fully healthy, how do you manage all of the pieces? What's Paul George going to look like back on this team? I think that's kind of a big question, but look, those are good problems that almost every team kind of wants to have here in the NBA right now. For the Celtics, I think John did a good job of summing it up. To me, they're a little bit of a variance team. If they're going to make shots, they'll be competitive. Jaylen Brown can take them pretty far, but not having Jason Tatum, still lacking some of the talent from years past. It's just, you got to rely on shooting. And if you miss those shots, what are you going to do?
Yeah, especially when you have a lack of talent now that they have, with Kristaps Porzingis obviously not being there, Jason Tatum. But I still like what Missoula's doing. They're
competitive. They had a chance to tie this game.
Right, and they're making it work. I think that Anthony Simons is going to be a big add for them all year. Look, there's just not many teams that can get 17 points off the bench. Again, he was only 5 of 15 today, and really it's been disappointing. I'm not blaming him because it's a new situation. Derek White's not been what I thought he would be. And today, he only shot 35% from the field. So, I mean, between Derek White and Anthony Simons, your next I think the next two go-to scorers you need on this roster outside of Jaylen Brown, I mean, if they go 12 for 35, you're not going to win a lot of games,
Yeah, it's John said it. It's a make or miss league sometimes. Sometimes our jobs up here as analysts can be pretty simple, I think, when it's if you miss a bunch of shots, they're going to struggle. And outside of Derek White in this game having a bit of a cluster of scoring, he did not look particularly good. And that's when you saw Philly get back into this game. And it's only when he got kind of hot in the fourth quarter, late in it, did all of a sudden this one get kind of close. They had a chance to tie it at the end, missed kind of a buzzer beater there for the putback. On a chuck up by Derek White, but they're going to be competitive enough. You just don't feel like the Celtics are going to be a good team. Speaking of a team that is not good, that is the Indiana Pacers, who got blown out. Get this score, 152, 128. Let's go over to the Utah Jazz to start, since they won the game, but I'm real curious what the Pacers are going to say here.
The Utah Jazz had a get-well game against the Indiana Pacers tonight. David Locke of Locked on Jazz. The Jazz score 152 points, 2 points off franchise record of 154. Ace Bailey made his second start, and he wowed the crowd tonight. At halftime, the Jazz led this game by 13 behind Ace Bailey's 17 first half points on just 6 of 9 shooting. Bailey proceeded to continue to have a career high tonight for the Utah Jazz. They also got 35 out of Lauri Markkanen in this one. Kyle Filipowski came off the bench for a good game for the Jazz with 16 points and 7 rebounds. They ran with the Pacers early, scoring 38 points in the first quarter. They led by 13 at the half. They led by 20 plus by the third quarter and routed the Pacers on the way to their 4th win of the season, scoring 152 points. The fewest points they scored in any quarter was 32. 8 players in double figures in this one for the Utah Jazz, a blowout win over the Pacers.
And let's go over to Locked On Pacers for their take.
Pacers score 128, season high in field goal percentage and turnovers. And they lost to Utah by 24 points. Tony East here with Locked On Pacers. Holy smokes. Was that a pathetic defensive game from the Pacers? That might even be putting it kindly. 152 points scored by the Utah Jazz. The Jazz scored 82 points in the second half of this game. The Pacers scored 83 points total in their loss to the Warriors on Sunday. Dear God, was the Pacers defense awful. This Jazz offense in the bottom 10 entering this game, rained in threes all night, back cuts to the basket, any cuts to the basket all night, easy peasy. The jumpers were easy, open, comfortable. So even on a night where the Pacers changed their starting lineup, showed some fight on offense, finally clicked a little bit on that end of the floor for literally the first time all season, they still got blown out by a not very good Utah Jazz team. Yikes, the Pacers are 1-11 and play the Suns on Thursday. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers. They're 1-10. I got their record wrong.
He's already adding losses to them. That's how bad they look in this game here. I got nothing. This game was a blowout. Pacers are terrible.
Yeah, I feel bad for them, just the situation they're in in total. But Lauri Markkanen, 13 of 19 for 35 points, and then 5 of 7 from 3. That's insane. So, I'm glad Lauri was having such a great year. Keontae George, who'd actually had a really good start to the year, just 3 of 12 today. But look, I like the Utah Jazz, man. They got a lot of good talent on the roster. I'm curious to see how they continue to perform this year.
It's nice to see Ace Bailey kind of had that breakout game after being kind of quiet to start the year. Feels like, as David said, get right game here. Mm-hmm. Coming up next, has anyone tried unplugging the Grizzlies and maybe plugging them back in? Because that was a disastrous performance against the Knicks. We're going to take a look at that one. Swipa looks ready to talk about that one. That's coming up here next to today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout, and it just keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team, maybe like the Philadelphia 76ers, is making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, that is $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins over at FanDuel.com. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is also brought to you by Built. No one likes paying rent, but if you must, you may as well get something out of it. And that's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. So when you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you for doing things around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Built, you can finally make your rent work for you. You're earning points on something you do every month that you have to pay. And you can also use it at your favorite local restaurants, heading to the gym, whatever you're doing, you can still earn rewards. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. That is joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week covering every single game across the association this season. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well. For your second listen, I'm tuning into Locked On Grizzlies because I want to spend some time talking about this because it seems like an absolute disaster there. So let's get into this one, Swipa. That is the New York Knicks beating the Memphis Grizzlies 133-120. Let's go over to Locked On Grizzlies.
Start spreading the news. The Memphis Grizzlies are in trouble in New York, heading to Boston, looking like a team that is without direction. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and no, we shouldn't be surprised that the Grizzlies lost to the New York Knicks. The Knicks, of course, are an NBA Finals contender in the Eastern Conference, playing some of the best basketball of anybody in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies are down multiple key contributors and are currently struggling. But the way that it happened, the lack of consistency offensively, the turnovers and how the Knicks were able to take those turnovers and turn them into scoring possessions. The Grizzlies continue to struggle with Ja Morant, trying to find ways to get him going, trying to find a rotation, anyone that works well together. It just seems very lost in this moment. And stars have to be stars. This is a star-driven league. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. bear some weight, but so does the coaching staff for this debacle.
It feels like a disaster in Memphis right now. Ja Morant in this one had just 16 points on 4 of 14 shooting, did have 10 assists, but 8 turnovers as well. What is going on there?
Well, I just looked it up just to confirm that my eyes are not deceiving me, but the last 6 games, Ja's averaging 15 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds. He's shooting 27.7% from the field and 14.7% from 3, and they're not doing well at all in the minutes. And then on top of that, the Grizzlies' most used lineup this year with Jock Landale, Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, Wells, and then KCP, 66 minutes played. They have a minus 18.9 net rating. This is, when you have a situation like this is bigger than talent. That talent on the roster isn't bad. They should be.
No, I agree with you.
Team.
Yeah.
The problem is the culture is broken, and I think Ja post that interview that happened, a few days ago last week, where he clearly was dismayed with how he was dealt with by the coaching staff. Whatever the negativity that's spreading throughout the entire organization is permeating on the court with how the players are playing. They feel discombobulated. They look discombobulated. They look disconnected. I don't know if this is salvageable. There always can be kind of a renaissance within an organization that changes the tempo and tone, but I'm not going to lie to you, Jake. Like this feels as if this is on the brink of whatever the next step of disaster would be. If this is not it, that thing is right around the corner.
No, I'm with you. It just comes across that way when you watch them, when you read about them, when you hear their interviews. As you said, it's permeating everything, and it just feels like a mess. It feels like they are really teetering on the brink right now. And I feel bad for Grizzlies fans. They've waited like 3 years basically to see Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. and this team healthy. And they're missing guys like Edie and others, but they should, as you said, they shouldn't look this bad. And this makes it feel like it's an absolute disaster here. And Ja Morant just seems fed up with everything, right? And I think that kind of speaks to your point of it being really broken. It's not just his frustration with the coaching staff. It seems he's frustrated with media too, with some of the comments that he's put out there as well. And it just seems like he's almost like angry at everything. And I don't exactly know how you fix a situation like that. Winning obviously would help here, but it does not feel particularly good. And look, I want to give the Knicks a little bit of credit in this one. This wasn't just Ja having, a bad game and being frustrated so he didn't care. They blitzed him repeatedly and made him uncomfortable, and it was a great defensive game plan from the Knicks in this one. But, they knew what they were doing and that he would kind of fold under the pressure given everything right now.
Yeah, man. Look, I just, I don't know what to take of anybody beating Memphis right now just because, it's just a team that's, they're just not there. They're not connected. But shout out to the Knicks, man. I love their roster. I love their team. I love Jalen Brunson, how he's played this year. Super efficient, super aggressive from him. 32 points and 10 assists. And then I think Karl-Anthony Towns is playing really well, huge rebounding night. I love how they're playing. I love the fact that OG Anunoby is playing as well as he is, even though he missed 9 threes today. They're just a really solid team, really well coached. And Mike Brown, man, they were good last year, but you can tell, even the way they're utilizing their bench this year with Yabusele and Deuce and then Jordan Clarkson, really, I think, catching a vibe off the bench. They have a really solid first unit and second unit, and I think that is probably going to be the thing that carries them all season.
Oh, look, and you're getting, Josh Hart starting to kind of be on the upswing too. And that's a dude I love from his time here in New Orleans, who's just the ultimate glue and hustle guy. And you need those kind of players. That Knicks team is very legit, in my opinion. Brunson was fantastic in this game. He was 11 for 19. He was excellent in this one. They're a good team. I'm with you that don't read too much into beating the brakes off of the Memphis Grizzlies, but still, I'm glad they took care of business as they should have in this one. What if you're putting it on a scale of 1 to 10? You're concerned from the Grizzlies. Where are you throwing them?
Oh, a 9. I mean,
8 or 9, right?
Yeah, it's when your culture is broken, it's almost unfixable. So that's you can't just get rid of I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put anything out there, but people are inquiring about Ja Morant. At this juncture, I feel like we're there. Like whatever is the next step to fix it, that might have to happen.
It just seems like he needs a fresh start somewhere else. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from that one here. Let's move on to the next game, and let's stay with the New York theme here, and that is the Toronto Raptors beating the Brooklyn Nets 119-109. Let's go over to Locked On Raptors.
Anytime you take on the Brooklyn Nets, you assume it's guaranteed win night, and it was just that for the Toronto Raptors, who take down these stinky Brooklyn Nets 119-109 in a game where, the Raptors kind of played with their food a little bit. They took a while to really take hold of this one, trailed in the first quarter after the first stretch for the starters. Wasn't an incredible opening to this one, but once they took the lead in the second quarter, they just kind of kept Brooklyn at arm's length for the rest of the night, and it was a very sort of business-like win. They were always a 4 or 5 minute stretch away from putting the Nets away for good. They led by as many as 17 in the last couple minutes of this game before the Nets reserves reeled it back into 10. Very comfortable win for a Raptors team that's finding its groove now, winners of 5 of their last 6. And in particular, on the note of finding the groove, Immanuel Quickley started the season miserably, couldn't hit a shot to save his life, really sort of poor decision-making, bad creation, awful defense. Last 3 games, he's really rounded into form. 21 points, 6 boards, 6 assists across those 3 games, better than 50% from the field, nearly 50% from downtown. And if Immanuel Quickley's going to round into form as the lead guard for this team, along with the contributions they've gotten from Brandon Ingram with his shot-making, Scotty Barnes doing everything on both ends, RJ Barrett chipping in. He had a rough night tonight, but overall he's been very effective. Jakob Poeltl finding health and a strong back after he's had a wobbly one to start the year. You know, the bench contributions this team has gotten. This is like a real team that is going to keep on racking up wins, especially against the likes of the Brooklyn Nets.
Just as he said, business-like win for the Toronto Raptors here.
Yeah, I mean, I have them as a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. So when you're going to do that, you're going to need to get wins versus teams like this. So they did their job.
Yeah, do what you need to do. All right, 2 more games, including your team, the Denver Nuggets. I want to talk about Jokic because he was awesome in this one. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I've said yes because I like using it here because it's so much cheaper to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. And Mint Mobile makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your number and contacts. And I love that you get the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. And the setup is super easy. You keep your number and then you're up and running in minutes. So get ready to say yes to saying no. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week, literally covering every single game played in the NBA this season. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network. All right, Swipa. Denver Nuggets beating the Sacramento Kings 122-108. I got your partner on here. Let's go to Locked On Nuggets, and then we'll get to you on this one here. Let's just get all the Nuggets coverage.
Nikola Jokic was absolutely unbelievable tonight. Was really impressive watching him dethrone the Kings. Final score 122-108. Jokic 35, 15, and 7 was incredible. Only missed 3 shots and really only missed like 1 or 2 because he had to throw up a couple late shot clock shots. But the Nuggets just keep rolling. It has been awesome to watch their starters, but the bench tonight in the fourth quarter really got them going and really helped them gain some separation again. They're finding their rhythms on both ends of the floor with both the starters and the bench unit. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Cam Johnson still coming along a little bit slowly, but his defense, sneaky good tonight.
Yeah, they looked good, and getting a big game, I'd call it a big game out of Jonas Valanciunas. Tell me more about that one. Like, that seems a big key to them.
One of the things that I think people are going to really tap into this year, Jake, and by the way, I'm going to ad-lib. The Willie Green 23 experiment, that's what I will always remember about Willie Green, and I know that everything's gone to crap with New Orleans, but the Jackson Hayes, Jonas Valanciunas, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, TJ McCollum
big lineup.
Y'all had the number one defense in the league for a while, and I remember watching that, and I remember watching Jonas. When he had defenders around him, he could go after it.
He's a good player, man.
Yeah, he is, man. And so and really, you know what the difference is? When Jonas is in the game, you can't take a break. When Jokic is in the game, you can't take a break. And what happened is today, they played versus the Sabonis lineup. Sabonis got 3 fouls immediately in the first half, and then Jonas Valanciunas put him in foul trouble again at the top of the fourth quarter. Jonas and Jamal Murray had developed their own synchronicity in their big man game, and like Jonas is so smart, really good touch, excellent screener. Like the defensive rebounding, and even honestly, Jonas' rim protection this year has been fairly good for what you're asking him to do. Like the second unit, the identity that they're running, Jake, is they play Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Peyton Watson, and Jonas Valanciunas, and that's basically like a low-end NBA team. So that's why the Nuggets feel so different this year, because now when Jokic goes to the bench, you can at least every game hope they're going to have at least one run in them where they're going to help turn the tide or maintain a lead, and that is going to be a huge difference for this team this year.
Look, if you have Jokic putting up 35, 15, 7 or whatever he's doing, on a nightly basis, like good luck. The only way you're going to beat that team consistently is winning those non-Jokic minutes. And if your bench for that team is really stepping up and playing well, like this team's scary, man. Like I look at them as a top end title contender here. I think they can compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Also, you've got the Clippers on the second night of a back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
Valanciunas loves to play that team. I've seen him go 7 of 8 from 3 against them or something like that before. I'm curious if that kind of is another consistent thing here. Yeah, Nuggets just look good. That's really all I have to say. Like they just look like a solid all-around team that managed to improve and fix a lot of like the depth issues and other things this offseason.
Yeah, Jokic is playing at a crazy level. Jamal Murray had a really good game today. He basically torched the Kings at the top of the fourth quarter today. Back-to-back threes versus Keon Ellis, driving, getting to the free throw line. Jokic was 16 of 19 today, and if you just kind of watch the pace of the game, he missed a shot after a rebound on a free throw where he just kind of threw it up, and then he missed a late shot 3 that he got handed a grenade, and then the other shot he missed, he rebounded. So even if you look at his misses today, like Jokic this year is averaging 26 points a game on a 74.8 true shooting. He's shooting 78% from 2 so far this year. Like, I don't know how Jokic keeps finding a way to get better, man, but it's like it's pretty insane.
He's been awesome this year in like every capacity, post-ups to above the arc play. It's been really fun to watch him play and continue to be the best player in the league. On the flip side, the Kings.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's tough. I think that the Kings I don't know what possessed them last year to make those swings, to get Zach LaVine, to get DeMar DeRozan. Like you rebuilt the Chicago Bulls, and today they're so saturated with like Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, Keon Ellis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Dennis Schroeder, that down the stretch you don't even know who to give the ball to. Like Sabonis was cool today. He wasn't great, but 19 points, 8 rebounds and 4 assists for Sabonis. The numbers, I think, speak better to how he played than what he actually did.
Okay.
But Zach LaVine had 12 points today. He was a minus 22. He is not their worst player. He had the lowest plus-minus on the team and didn't take really any shots in money time today because DeMar and everybody else has the ball. So he's just kind of out there. I just don't understand what they were thinking. I think if you gave Zach LaVine more responsibility, they would be even better. But who's getting off the ball is the question.
Their team made no sense before, made no sense when they made these trades, and the moves that they made continues to make no sense. And that's why you're hearing reports right now that maybe it's time that they're just going to go on a full on hard reset, because they've been in that just like no man's land in the NBA, which is one of the worst places to be. Look, I cover a team that does this regularly, right? Like when the play-in tournament is your ceiling at best, that's really not a good spot. And look, to their credit, rip the Band-Aid off and try and do it. I'll believe it when I see it, because that team, they're the Kangs for a reason and they operate a certain way, but they got to do something, like absolutely need to do something. All right, final game of the night. That's the Thunder beating the Golden State Warriors 126-102. Let's go over to Locked On Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder crushed the Golden State Warriors on the front end of this back-to-back, and this was an impressive game. Look, I know that we're all used to the Thunder being an elite defense by now. It's how they won a championship last year. But tonight, down 2 all-NBA level defenders in Lou Dort and Jalen Williams. And why those 2 guys are so important beyond just being all defensive team members on the defensive side of the ball, they also are the primary targets to defend a guy like Steph Curry and a guy like Jimmy Butler. Without J-Dub's size, you wondered if Jimmy Butler could really get going in this game with his ability to draw fouls and ability to get easy buckets. Without Lou Dort chasing around Steph Curry off of screens, you wondered if Steph Curry could have a massive night here in the Paycom Center. Instead, you got 12 points and 11 points respectively from those 2 guys. They were non-existent, and that's a testament to this Thunder team, who not only has a next man up mentality, who not only continues to go to work regardless of the adversity they face, but their next man up, pretty good. It's Alex Caruso, a 2-time all-defensive player, and Cason Wallace, who should have made all-defensive last year. It's 2 guys who can admirably fill in for this team on top of SGA, who's a 2-way star and got all defensive votes a year ago. The defense was the story of tonight, just completely suffocating Golden State to the extent that even after garbage time, their team leader in points was Jonathan Kuminga with 13. Chet Holmgren has reinvented his offensive game, being an inside-out scorer, and he got to the paint in the mid-range and off of cuts at will tonight and knocked down a couple threes, shooting 100%. With a double-double. SGA's improved playmaking gives him a double-double as well. And the most important thing, OKC was able to have an entire quarter of garbage time on the front end of a back-to-back and not play their regulars in the fourth quarter. More at Locked On Thunder.
They just keep doing it. This is like what they do.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Dort's not here. J-Dub, it's like, all right, Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso. Like, I don't know. They're
like an embarrassment of riches.
No, but like they're so historically great defensively. There is almost no team that I could run through in my data log that would have this many all-NBA defenders before you get to SGA, who is a good defender in its own right. It's just an incredible team. iHeart's been incredible. And then you got Chet Holmgren, who's an all-NBA defender. They're suffocating. So, yeah, I mean, it legitimately, like they might be the greatest collection of defensive talent that we've ever seen outside of literally the 04 Pistons. I mean, even the Bill Russell era in the 60s when they ran through the league, when Bill Russell was the number 1 defense every year he was on the league. I mean, you're talking about like that kind of level. So SGA, walked to 30 points in 3 quarters, but it's also just like Steph, Jimmy, whatever. Unless you got a very specific style of offense, you're not scoring on OKC.
No, they're just brutal to play, and it feels like they're going to just steamroll to the 1 seed, or at least get closer to it. I do think the Nuggets are going to kind of be in that mix too, but they feel like the class of the West right now, and everyone's just trying to fight for second because they look that good and they are that good defensively. Happy season for Locked On Thunder. Make them your second listen today. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA Game Night, covering all 6 games across the association. On Wednesdays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, host of Locked On Pelicans. He is Swipa, at Swipa Cam of the Locked On Nuggets podcast. We appreciate y'all listening. We are Locked On NBA Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. See y'all next time.